Hi beautiful people, welcome back to Facebook with your girl Kay, and I am back. I wasn't really going for very long, let's be honest. But today I decided to take a break on these. No, we don't take a break on these, but we wanted to give you a more lifestyle video today, so I'm going to do a little story time, guys. You'd have seen from the title down below, I'll be talking about how my dad almost sold me off to marriage. Well, not sold me off, he almost married me off, basically. Okay, and without my consent or my knowledge, okay? That's when it gets a bit messy. But without further ado, guys, let's go. So let's start from the beginning. So I've moved out from my parents' house, as some of you would know, and I went back home just to visit my parents. I go back every like a month or every month, just to visit for a little bit. And I went to talk to my mom, you know, just having a normal chat with my mom, right? And my mom's like to me, oh, one of your aunties, so one of the Zambian aunties in Australia, she said that your auntie wants to talk to you, she wants to get your number. Can I give her your number? That's what my mom said to me originally. She's like, there's someone, your auntie wants your number, she needs to talk to you about something. I was like, oh yeah, that's fine. Like, I don't have any beef with my aunt, you know, give her my number, it is what it is. So my aunt gets my number, I leave my parents' house, come back to my house, and my aunt calls me, and she's like, oh, okay, there's a guy who, why am I laughing now? But anyway, she's like, there's a guy who is looking for a wife or looking for a girl, and we thought of you, so we were talking with other aunties. You know, when there's other aunties, it's a problem. And she's like, we're talking with the other aunties, and we thought of you, and we thought you'd be a good person to, like, you know, get in contact with him and stuff. And I was like, okay, all good. In my head, I'm like, it's not that deep, but like, they haven't given me a ring or anything, so I'm just like, it's just a guy I'm talking to. I'm like, so I didn't think that deep into it, right? And I was like, oh yeah, all good. And she's like, oh, can I pass you his number? Can I pass your number to him? And I was like, yeah, all right. Because she vouched for him. She's like, he's a really nice guy. We've known him from, I think it was South Australia, WA, whatever. They've known him for a while. And, you know, his family, like, oh, he's from a good family, blah, blah, blah. So they were hyping him up to me anyway. And I was like, yeah, all good. Like, yeah, send him a number, and I'm all good. Like, if he wants to call, he can call. It's like, the ball's in his court. Like, I don't really have any problems with that, whatever. So then, she sent over my number to him, and, so then, the man's called literally the same day that I spoke to my aunt. So he called late in the afternoon. And so he called me, and I was like, oh hey, and then, you know, we had a conversation. We spoke for quite a bit of a time, but like, you know, I'm one of people, like, I need to know, like, I wanted to know everything. So I'm like, who's this person that is looking for a wife? Are you even husband material? Like, you know. But yeah, I was like, okay, so who's this person? So we spoke for quite a bit, just getting to know each other and stuff, because of course, like, the aunties are expecting us to go from, you know, talking to early courtship. You know, they want to rush the system. But anyway, so I was like, oh yeah, like, let me know about him. Spoke for, I think it was like roughly 4 hours on the phone. Nice guy, like, spoke nice, whatever. He was African as well, which was like a plus. But yeah, all goods, okay, all goods on that front, no problems, no qualms, whatever, right? And then, but for some reason, my spirit didn't feel, like, after I'd spoken to him, my spirit didn't feel at ease, like at peace. And I'm gonna bring my dad into the story, just wait for it. But yeah, so my spirit didn't feel at peace. So I was like, something's not right. So I spoke to my mom afterwards, after I'd spoken to him, and she's like, oh, so how was the conversation? I was like, Mom, did you know that it was about a guy? Because she just told me your aunt talked to you. And then she's like, yeah, I knew sort of the story, but I don't know the full story. I was like, Mom, what's the full story? I was like, I need to know the details, because my soul is not feeling at peace. So my mom told me, so this is the full story. So this is what happened before Kay got into the picture, right? So the uncles had spoken without Kay in the room, without even the aunts. I don't know how this happened. I didn't know when Dad started arranging marriages, but anyway. So my dad, so what happened was my uncle, yeah, so the auntie that called me, her husband had spoken to my dad and had said to my dad, oh, there's a guy that's wanting to marry, and he wants to marry your daughter, okay? That's what the advertisement was to my dad. And my dad's like, yeah, okay, you know, my daughter's at that age, she needs to get married, like, she's out of the house now, which she shouldn't have done anyway, which is already a big problem for an African dad, is like, their daughter has left the house without being married. So he's like, okay, no, that's fine. We'll organize it and she'll come back home. So in our culture, sorry if I just spat. So in our culture, a woman needs to come back home. So she needs to be at home. She's going to leave the house when she gets married, in a sense. And I had been getting these calls from my aunts, from my dad's aunts, sisters, telling me, oh, okay, come back home, and I'm like, why? And they're like to me, oh, you know, you're gonna get married soon, blah blah blah. I'm like, they're like, come back home. I had only been out the house for like a month and a bit, and they're like, you need to come back home. So this was all happening behind the scenes. I didn't know what they were asking me to come back home. I was not gonna come back home. I didn't know what they were asking me. So now my mom's telling my story. I'm like, okay, this makes so much sense. So my dad was like to my mom, he's like, oh, tell your daughter to come back home because there's a man looking for her and she can't be out there. She has to be back here in the parents' household for her to get married. And I'm sitting there like, what's my mom's telling me the story? I'm like, does my dad know who I am? I'm like, this man is trying to marry me off and I'm not even there in between the discussion. But anyway, so in my dad's head, he had this whole plan. Kate's gonna come home. She's gonna, you know, the guy's gonna come. They're gonna get married. Blah blah blah. He had the whole picture from beginning to end. Okay, mind you, my mom knows me, right? So as my dad is telling my mom, bring your daughter home. She's gonna get married. Blah blah blah. My mom's like, say, it's not your child. She's like, this is not gonna go and sit well with Kay. But anyway, so I'm jumping a lot because the story was so so twisted that even when I found it, I was so confused. But anyway, so as I spoke the day after I spoke to the guy, I was just explaining to my mom what we talked about and how the conversation was and all that stuff. And she was like to me, "Did you talk about your Christianity? Did you talk about your faith and stuff and all that stuff?" Pardon me. And that was the biggest thing that I did not speak about, and I was very much so. Until I was shy about talking about it, it was just like, I didn't know how to bring it. I just started talking to this person. I'm like, I didn't know how to bring it into the conversation. Like I brought in the whole fact like of my principles and stuff and the doctrine I live by, but I never really explicitly said I need a man of God. And I think that's probably why I wasn't at peace after I spoke to him. Like it didn't sit right in my soul. Yeah, even though we had a very great conversation and it was chill and stuff. But I can pull a conversation for like hours. I'm just one of those people, like, you can give me one topic and I'll bring other topics in between. Like conversationalist. But yeah, and then my mom's like to me, Kay, you need to explain to him what you believe and why you believe and what you need in a husband, if you do want to continue talking to this person, because then you're just gonna be wasting time. And my mom's like, I know who you are and I know faith and because I work in the church as well, so she's like, you know, faith is so important to you, so you can't leave that out, you can't leave it last. And yeah, my mom was explaining to me like why it's so important and like her history and her experience as well with all that stuff, and I was like, okay, snap, like I need to really get it together, and be direct and be very forward with what I need in my husband and what I need in a partner, whatever. But yeah, so my poor dad, I think I broke his heart at this point. Till this day, because I still remember I went home and me and my sister were both home, and my dad's like to me, he's like, oh, so when you coming back? And I was like, sir, this ain't gonna happen. But mind you, when he was asking me all these subliminal questions, I did not know what was happening behind the scenes. I did not know that there was a reason for me to be home anyway. But yeah, so I had the conversation with my mom. My mom straightened me up. She's like, hey, you know, you don't want history repeating itself, blah blah blah, all that stuff. So I got the kahunas, prayed about it, spoke to the Lord. I was like, Lord, this doesn't feel right. Got the kahunas to like call up the man the next day. Mind you, I didn't know that he had spoken to the auntie that hooked us up. I didn't know that he had spoken to her and told her all this, and the uncle. He had told them all this great stuff, like, oh yeah, we spoke for hours. Like, he had hyped up everything, right? Mind you, Kate's coming like, you know, I'm about to break this up. I'm about to with all the vim in the world, okay? Called up the man, and I was like, listen, like, yes, we spoke, it was good, all that stuff. Like, I did not downplay like how good the conversation was and all that stuff. And I was like to him, unfortunately, like, I need a man, because I knew he wasn't of faith. Like, I knew from our first conversation, I was like, this boy, the way he talking, it ain't it. It ain't it. Jesus ain't in no conversation. But anyway, like I was like to him, I really need a man of God. Like church and my faith and like, you know, being Adventist is very, very important to me, and I need someone who can lead my household in that, and who has that cornerstone in a sense in their life. So I was like, told this to him, and he's like, oh, does that mean, you know, I'm out? And I'm like, yeah. If you can't fill that part of it, of the criteria, I'm sorry, sir. Like, listen, it's done before it even started. But yeah, I was like, yeah, he's like, oh, okay, understand. And he didn't fight it, like he understood. He's like, oh, it is what it is. And then, but see, right now, this is where my red flag started hitting up, like the boop, 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 boop. So after I probably like let him down, like nice, as gently as possible, because it wasn't like I hated the man. It was just that the fact that the husband I'm looking for, the husband I know that's there for me, he needs to be of God, and sent from the Lord too. But yeah, and then he started saying stuff like, oh, so you got any friends? And I was like, he's like, you ain't got sisters? And I was like, this boy, you can't get Kate, so now you want her friends? I'm like, that makes no complete sense. Like, how do you go that, like, switch up that quickly? And I'm like, you know what, it is what it is. I just, after that, I let it be. I was like, you know what, sir, this is a done deal. Let's leave it as is. So I finished talking to him, got his phone, whatever, and left it alone anyway. And then literally, I think it was like an hour and a bit, I got a call from the auntie. So I got a call from the aunt, and she's like, "Kay, what happened?" My dad's a quiet man, so my dad would not say anything. He would not be the one. He's never the one that will come up to me and be like, "Oh yeah, so I heard you." Like my dad knows nothing. Relationships, nothing. Like my dad would be. He doesn't need you to date. Boyfriends are non-existent. Okay, he would rather have you come with the whole husband. But that's just the culture. But anywho, so the aunt calls me and she's like, so what happened? You know, like we heard you had a good conversation and everything was good, blah blah blah. And I was like, yeah, see, right. I was like, so he ain't a man of God? I can't marry a man that ain't of God. Like, I was like, it's tough out here, but. And she's like, yeah, I know your mom mentioned to me about your faith. And she's like, I was like, if my mom mentioned to you, then you should know by now that would be like number one on my list of everything else. Number one would be, has to be man of God. Like straight up before anything else comes underneath it. But yeah, so, and she's like, oh, are you sure it's over? Like there's no reconciliation. You can't, you know, just like, you know, shift a bit. I'm like, girl, who going to, what you call it? Shift on Jesus. You want me to lay down, like minimize my Christianness for a boy who I don't even know like that? I was like, no, it's just not gonna happen. But yeah, so she I felt like she was more heartbroken by the whole situation than I was, because she's like really hyped him up. She's like, oh, he's such a good guy, and you know, we really know him, and we didn't know that this thing would, like, the Christianity would be such a big thing for you. I was like, it's the premise of my life. It's what I live on. But yeah, so she was sad. I spoke to my mom. After I spoke to her, my mom's like, yeah, no, you made the right decision. Like, it is what it is and all that stuff. I was like, yeah, it is what it is. That's to do my life. It is what it is. But yeah, and after I dealt with everything, my heart was at peace again. Like, I felt like I'd been put through the ringer in a sense before, like, as everything was happening. I was like, okay, what's happening? It was so much unknown. But after everything had dissolved and stuff, I was like, whew, at peace. But yeah, that's my story. There was more details, but I literally gave you like a condensed version of it because I thought it's a lot to go into, and there's a lot of things that were discussed, but in between anyway. But that is the story. It was not really like my dad got me. No, my dad thought I was married. My dad did think I was married. He really tried it though. I'm like, if he had done it with anyone else, like if it was a man who was, you know, of God, like a man who, like if he was the exact, like on my list, you know, exactly, then my dad would have been, it would have been ease. I would have jumped in, I would have thrown myself back home. I'd be like, what's good? When we get married? Like then I'll be there. But because it didn't match the criteria of the person I'm looking for, it was sadly unfortunate. for him anyway. But that is my story, guys. That is a story of how my dad tried keyword to marry me off to a man I did not know from a bar of soap. But you know, that's what tends to happen. Yeah, so it's sort of like in a arranged marriage, but not really an arranged marriage, because it was like arranged courtship. That's what sort of happened. But yeah, my dad tried again, and then what I say. But if you like this video, you like my little story, like down below, comment if you want me to do any other storylines, wow, story times. And if anyone else has been through a situation like this, if you're African and your parents have tried it to get you married to someone you don't know, comment down below, because I would love to hear your stories. But in saying that, guys, this is all I got for this week. God bless y'all, and I love you so much. Bye.